Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, FrankPereira. With Kashmir continuing to simmer amid student protests, Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti has blamed the media for unnecessarily exaggerating the security situation in the valley. At the reopening of the Civil Secretariat in Srinagar after a 6-month shift to Jammu, the winter capital of the state, Mehbooba said electronic media shouldn't show discussions that promote hatred against Kashmiris. Kashmir has seen worse in the 1990s. The situation will improve soon as every issue has a solution. Kashmir's security situation worsened in the past 3 weeks with the onset of protests against the use of forces on agitating students. The clashes escalated after April 15th when cops raided a degree college in Pulwama in which 17 students were injured. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will take a closer look at the Kashmir crisis and the role of the media in reporting the events. Joining me on the program today are Vivek, Katju, former diplomat, Anil Choudhary, former Secretary, Internal Security, MHA, Bharat, Bhushan, editor, Catch News, and we will also be joined by guests on the phone line from Kashmir, Shujaat, Bukhari, Editor-in-Chief, Rising Kashmir, and Shah Tantray, PDP, MLA. Thank you so much to all my guests for joining me on the program. Ambassador, I'd like to begin with you, of course. Did the media exaggerate on the events taking place in Kashmir, or is the Chief Minister looking for a way out?
No, look, the Chief Minister has mentioned that the situation was worse in the 1990s. Now, for one, the media situation in the 1990s was completely different. There wasn't this proliferation of channels. The print media was different. The social media didn't exist. So we must factor this aspect into account. The situation today is also qualitatively, in Kashmir, is qualitatively different in the valley than it was in the 1990s.
So is there no comparison then?
No, I think at one level the comparison holds because Pakistan's interference in Kashmir's affairs continues unabated. It has assumed different forms, but the fact of their interference is straightforward. Now, the media, I think, has two functions. One, it has a function to inform, and I think it can only inform the facts on the ground. If there is stone pelting taking place, then the media will reflect that stone pelting. The second is to be responsible to place things in perspective so that people in the rest of the country get an accurate picture. So therefore the question is, are people getting an accurate picture or not? I think to a large extent they are. But it's also important that events should be placed deliberately by the national media in perspective. If there is stone pelting in one area and one area alone, then it should be placed in a perspective that it is only in one area, it is not widespread.
Sure.
Now, the last point I'd like to make is about talk shows. Talk shows, as they take place, reflect different opinion. And it's a fact that there is a section, a vast section of opinion in the country outside the Kashmir Valley, which is very unhappy with continued agitation, which is very unhappy with calls of separatism, and which is very unhappy when Pakistani flags are raised. And therefore, if there are participants in talk shows who reflect this unhappiness, with force or otherwise, then that is something that the political leadership in Kashmir, in the government of Kashmir, will have to accept. At the same time, I think things have to be handled with a certain degree of sobriety because, and this is my very last point, that there shouldn't be an increasing chasm between Kashmir and the rest of the country, and certainly Kashmiri students and others living outside the Kashmir Valley in other states of India should be made to feel welcome.
Fair enough. You know, Bharat Bhushan, as an editor yourself, Vivek Katju was talking about, the accuracy of reportage. Do you believe that the true picture has been able to, has come out as far as this reportage is concerned?
I don't think so. I think the Indian mainstream media, especially television, is very toxic and venomous when it comes to Kashmir. In rest of India, the media plays a role in exposing police atrocities, atrocities by the state, etc. But in Kashmir, the victims are portrayed as unworthy of sympathy. And an atmosphere is created because of which people get beaten up. The Kashmiri students are getting beaten up largely because of the media creating this kind of atmosphere in the entire country.
Could it also be, I'm sorry to interrupt, but could it also be that the mainstream media is not used to being in a situation like Kashmir and hence does not know how to report on a situation there?
I don't think so. After all, we've had conflicts in India's northeast. They've also been reported. I think the media is particularly biased in Kashmir, and this bias essentially comes because media over time has, in the race for TRPs, especially television, thinks that if you view Kashmir through the national security prism, it gets more eyeballs. And this whole thing is reinforced by the kind of guests you get to talk shows and expert commentators in shows such as yours. Who are these people? They are retired generals, people with quivering mustaches, or spin doctors for the government. These people create an atmosphere which makes the Kashmir situation more complex. So media, instead of being an observer in the Kashmir case, has actually become a participant, a partisan role it plays to make the situation worse. So I can sympathize with Mehbooba Mufti when she says that this should not be done. But I would put it differently. I would say get better guests for your shows, get a diversity of opinions in your newspapers about Kashmir. Let Kashmiris also write about Kashmir instead of retired generals and retired foreign secretaries writing about Kashmir. Let even Pakistanis write about Kashmir in Indian papers. Let there be a genuine debate. But let there not be this uniform, homogenized view of Kashmiris as anti-national, people who threaten India. And you make the situation much worse by doing that, at the same time saying that Kashmir is an integral part of India. If it's an integral part of India, then what happens in Kashmir should affect you. If it hurts Kashmiris, it must hurt you. If their children get blinded, you must show sympathy and you must also feel that sadness. That empathy has been completely removed and Kashmir reportage has been dehumanized by mainstream media in India.
Okay, sure, fair enough. I'm going to get another journalist on the panel now joining us on the phone line, Shujaat Bukhari, into the picture so that we can get a better understanding as to how the Kashmiri media has been covering the entire issue. Shujaat, as far as this particular Kashmir crisis itself is concerned, what is the kind of reportage that you've seen in the local media?
See, I think first and foremost that I would agree with Bharat, as whatever he said is accurate and is correct. And I think the problem in Kashmir is also because of the provocation from the national media, especially the TV channels. As far as the local media in Kashmir is concerned, I would say that it has been fairly balanced and it has actually performed its professional duty within the limits of the professionalism at the cost of even the lives of the people. We have lost 15 conflicts so far and so many people have been arrested and all that. And there are also operational hazards here. The working conditions at the height of 2016, the newspapers were banned and people were not allowed to actually operate. So I wouldn't say that we have done everything, completely, everything is fair and all that. There might be shortcomings, but I would say that when I compare a newspaper in Srinagar with that of a TV channel debate, I would say that Kashmir press is far more fair and balanced as far as the fundamentals of journalism are concerned. And I think that we have been working under tremendous circumstances in past 26 years in a conflict situation, pressures, pulls, from both the sides, from states as well as the non-state actors. But at the same time, I would say that whatever Mehbooba Mufti has said, I think she's right in saying that if the debates like this, I would give you an example for the recently what happened that CRPF.
Well, we seem to have lost the line there. I don't know if you're still with us, but we'll try and reconnect there with Shujaat Bukhari, of course, and continue that flow of thought and see what exactly he was trying to tell us there. But let me bring in Anil Choudhary into the picture as well. You know, it's a complex situation, isn't it, Kashmir? But is it right to blame the media for everything that's happening? Clearly, the state government and the central government too have lost the plot somewhere.
Frank, it is not entirely the media which has created the situation. I'm going to speak as an internal security professional,
Yes.
please.
Yes, please do.
I'm happy that there's agreement among the fellow panelists that the TV channels which have proliferated like anything have played a very negative role in Kashmir Valley. I'm agreement. Vivek put it diplomatically. Mr. Bharat Bhushan more forthright. I shall be more. I shall bring out 4 points
Sure.
from which causes serious problems from the internal security ground level situation. The Indian TV media has been showing, isolated incidents in Handwara, remote areas all over, which would have taken time to travel. And the entire valley passions rise. They're stoking the fire. Unknowingly, unwittingly, I do not know. The other thing is that they are also provoking passions in the rest of the country by showing repeatedly incidents of stone pelting, the same incidents on our security forces, on CRPF personnel. Naturally, this is a divide which they are adding to unwittingly. Sorry to say.
But that's not the ground reality is what you're saying.
No, it is the ground reality. No, it is not. You see, skirmishes on the border. I have grappled with Kashmir, in Kashmir and from Delhi for 8 long years. Skirmishes on the border have been taking place. But now if you start blowing it out of proportion, connecting into beheading of soldiers, shelling, all that, what are we trying to achieve? I don't understand. Mehbooba ji has her compulsions. The perception in Kashmir is that the TV channels, private ones especially, are playing up, stroking the fire, putting kerosene into the fire and making things much more difficult. She's reflects the aspirations of the people of Kashmir. So she has to say what the Kashmiris feel. I appreciate that. And self-restraint is totally absent in our media. Some reasonable restrictions have to be. I'm not saying you put, ban it or anything like that, but some restrictions have to be exercised. It is exercised the world over. I was in the United States when 9/11 happened, and the media just kept quiet about how they were going after the Al-Qaeda. Nobody spoke a word. In sharp contrast, I'm telling you, in the Kashmir Valley, I was in the government then. There was this much famous ride bus, between Muzaffarabad and Srinagar. Everybody from Delhi was there. A lot of bonhomie between the people of Kashmir on both sides. And for 15 days, the police had a tough time to find volunteers to travel because the Hizbul Mujahideen and Lashkar-e-Taiba said, we will finish your entire family, whoever travels in the bus. One day before the travel was to take place, I don't want to name the media, I don't want to name the journalists. This is the place where they are hiding. This is the place where they have been kept. And sure enough, before the bus was flagged off, there was a Fidayeen attack there, launched. So what are we doing? What happened in Bombay? You see, the masters sitting in Kashmir were guiding operations who were in contact. Don't go there, NSG is there in that tower, avoid that.
I want
some balance, some maturity, some national security interest. Why can't we do that?
I want to take that point forward that you're making, of course, about restriction as far as the media is concerned. Ambassador, is that the way forward really, or do you believe that self-constraint will be more suitable?
No, I think there are certain norms which have to be observed when it comes to reportage, especially in conflict situations, especially where they are sensitive situations involving law and order, among other things. But what I feel is that the Kashmir leadership too has to play its part.
Yes.
In educating public opinion in India. Because at the end of the day, there is a certain objective reality in Kashmir. There has been an agitation, stone pelting, etc., which has been going on, and that is resulting, even if we factor in that there is a certain exaggeration in the media, especially the audio-visual media, the fact is that this agitation which is going on which is looked upon by lots of people in India, vast sections, as anti-national, is provoking a reaction. So therefore, to say that there is only a small segment which views the developments in Kashmir outside the nationalist perspective, I think would be wrong. After all, Indian security forces are shedding their blood in Kashmir.
Yes, they are.
And we can't, can we be oblivious of this? When there is anti-national sentiment expressed on the streets of Kashmir, when children are coming out unrestrained by their families, their elders, and stone pelting, then if that is not reported, I think the media will not be performing its function. But all that I am pleading is that these things have to be placed in a certain perspective. My last point is that the Pakistan media is creating havoc in the valley. If you read the Pakistan press, the kind of reportage, small little things are being flashed all over.
So is that what we are doing, Ambassador? Is that what we are doing, Bharat Bhushan? We're trying to counter really the Pakistani media or the Pakistani press in Kashmir, and that's why we're doing all of this and, you know, building up this nationalist agenda, if you could call it that.
I don't think so. I think what has happened is that the Indian media has adopted the national security paradigm of the state. It's adopted the big power discourse of the state, that India is a big power, India can deal with things militarily. The net result is you think that internal dissent can be dealt through military means, despite the fact that army commanders in Kashmir are saying it's a political issue, please address it politically. We listen to them in Nagaland. We are not listening to them in Kashmir because maybe there's a Pakistan factor and that complicates the issue. But what it has, that the belligerence towards Kashmiris, the belligerence towards Pakistan and all our neighbors is result of the media unquestioningly assuming and adopting the national security paradigm of the state. The media's role should have been to question it. If there is pellet guns being used in Kashmir in a big way, the media should be asking for worse than this in Haryana, where Jats went on a rampage and there were mass rapes. Why did you not use pellet guns? When 96 buses were burnt, very agitation, where were your pellet guns at that point? So why are certain kind of weapons used against a particular population and not used elsewhere? This is a question Kashmiris will ask, but why don't mainstream media journalists ask this question? Yes, soldiers are dying, but soldiers don't want to die. General Huda is on record saying that, you know, please start a dialogue. Now you might say you don't want to start a dialogue with Hurriyat and the separatists, but at least, you know, start a dialogue with the youngsters, talk to the youth, find out why they're picking up stones. Don't paint everybody with the same brush, because not everybody has picked up stones. As Mehbooba Mufti has pointed out, the exam results have been fantastic. So these are people, there are kids there who are working very hard. They are getting into IAS, they're getting into civil services, they're joining the Indian Army, they're joining the police. So don't homogenize the picture about Kashmir, make it variegated, go there, post people there, base them there, let them live in Kashmir and then write their lived experience. We are willing to send people to Washington to live there for 3 years or 11 years to report on what Americans think. And we're not willing to send reporters to Srinagar and base them there. Let a non-Kashmiri go there and live there and report. You will get different kind of reportage.
Yes, you will.
So all I'm saying is don't adopt the values of the state. Don't be taken over by the dominant consensus that exists in this country about national security. If you do that, you're actually threatening national security. Negative feedback by the media will actually stabilize the system. Positive feedback where everybody becomes a cheerleader for national security will destabilize it.
Fair enough. Yeah, Shujaat, I'm coming to you, Ambassador. I know you want to make a point, but we've reconnected with Shujaat Bukhari at the moment. So let me go back to Shujaat Bukhari and go ahead, Shujaat, please make the point that you were making earlier.
No, I was saying that once the TV channel showed a video, some boys heckling a CRPF Jawan, there's nothing wrong in that and highlighting that. But if they would have also shown the video where a civilian was tied with a jeep in the same manner, and the debate would have been around that as well as a human rights violation, I think there would not have been any problem. Then media would have been doing its job. But as far as the other panelists pointed out, I think that yes, there is a concern that soldiers are getting killed, and because there's a conflict. I mean, I think both India and Pakistan, the media, the polity, the civil society will have to play a very positive role in order to come over this conflict in Kashmir. And Kashmir conflict, as Bharat rightly, I think, explained, that it's not about the security situation only. It's not about the law and order only. And it is also not only about Pakistan, that Pakistan is giving money to people and 500 rupees to throw stones and all that. I think that myth has been broken for last 6, 7, 8 months. Now students are protesting. Today also, when I'm speaking to you from Lal Chowk, I mean, we had a huge student protest here where tear gas shelling was going on. I mean, there is this deep sense of frustration and despondency where you are being pushed to the wall. And I think that the media channels, especially some of the channels, are playing a very, very irresponsible role, and I think that they are doing a disservice to the country. I mean, rather than actually telling the people of India that what actually is happening in Kashmir and why Kashmiris are on streets, I think they are actually, making them fanatics and creating a hysteria in the entire country where every Kashmiri is being seen through as a terrorist, and that's why that enmity, the level of enmity between Kashmir and the rest of India has actually gone up. So I think it's as long as we continue to be in a denial mode as far as Kashmir's political issue is concerned, I don't think we can reach anywhere.
Okay. Yes, Ambassador, you wanted to make a point.
I think the first question is, what is Kashmir's political issue? Our friend from Kashmir on the panel says there's a political issue. Yes, but what is it? To my mind, it's a clear issue. One, there's an external issue which relates to Indian territory of the state of Jammu and Kashmir against Pakistan's illegal and forcible occupation. That has to be dealt with internationally by the government of India, and because external affairs is exclusively the prerogative of the government of India.
Yes.
And second is an internal matter which is within the domain of center-state relations. Now, as long as the Kashmiri leadership and the Kashmiri people insist on mixing up these two, I'm afraid the media will continue to mix it up. And when the media continues to mix it up, there will be a certain element of nationalism which will inevitably come in, whether we like it or not. Yes, it is all right to talk in idealistic terms about what the media should do, but the media is also part of the people. There is a sentiment. Pakistani terrorism and interference has gone on for 3 decades. So therefore, I'm appealing to the Kashmiri leadership, to Kashmiri media, to make it very clear that there is a question of Pakistan only in relation to their occupation of Indian territory, and this matter relating to center-state relations, yes, there is a great unhappiness in Kashmir which is quite evident, but that has to be dealt with exclusively within the realms of the Indian Constitution.
Yes.
And unless that fact is recognized, I'm afraid we will not make much headway.
Sure.
And yes, there can be a certain section of a liberal opinion in India which has a different view of India. But that is not the majority view, I'm afraid. The majority view is rooted in the territorial integrity of India.
Okay. Yes,
Frank, I want to make just 3 or 4 very brief
Yes,
points.
please.
One, the situation on the ground is very serious.
Yes.
What makes it serious is the alienation of the youth and the political leadership and the elders all going into a shell. There has to be a dialogue which has to be started. Let's not we have talked to the separatists earlier. Let's not stand on formality. Talk to the students, talk to the teachers, talk to the parents. Who should talk? Not the political leaders, the local administration, representatives, the Tehsildar, Anidar, the DC and the SP. They must reach out. They know they must do that. And also another very unfortunate trend which makes me very sad is that our own security forces and police officers have a propensity to be going before the mic too easily. You have junior commissioned officers, inspectors, and being asked to say, give out details of the operations while it's on. Now, let's hold our horses. Nowhere in the world will anybody be, but they are being made to say things which they should not be saying out of what, I do not know, they're seeking publicity or what. There has to be, after the operation is over, yes, there should be a briefing by the professionals, giving out minimum details, but they go into long things, they show everybody, inspector, SP, DC, whoever, SDM, major, captain, everybody is going on the media and it's complicating the situation. So that's the point that I want to make.
Sure.
I think we have to take some correctives.
I'm joined on the phone line now by Shah Mohammed, the Tantray PDP MLA. Let me get a quick reaction from him and then get closing comments from all my guests here. We've lost the line, I'm told, with the PDP MLA. But yes, Bharat Bhushan, you wanted to make a point.
I just want to say, I think the broad question that you began with was, is media hindering or facilitating solving?
Is it complicating the issue then? Yes.
The Kashmir issue. I think media is vitiating the atmosphere in Kashmir. So to that extent, it is hindering the solution of whatever the security situation is in Kashmir. But I don't blame the media entirely. I blame the government. Okay, so you have the same party ruling in Delhi, which is also ruling in Srinagar in an alliance. There's failure of governance in Jammu and Kashmir, that's evident. And there's failure of governance in Delhi. The Delhi government refuses to do anything. And who takes the blame for it? An alliance partner. Mehbooba Mufti is to blame for everything. Not a alliance partner, the BJP. Not the people who are ruling in Delhi. Now, media doesn't point it out. Media will blame Kashmir. We'll talk about the government in Srinagar not being able to handle it. But no criticism of those big bosses who sit in Delhi. They are... the same people talk about autonomy to Nagaland. Naga peace talks are going very well. When Kashmiris talk of autonomy, you say, what is there to talk about? There is nothing to talk about. The only thing we'll talk about is the territory that is with Pakistan. Fair enough, yes, you must talk about that. But talk also about what was guaranteed to Kashmiris under Article 370. Talk also about how it was systematically taken away through presidential ordinances. And talk about what can be done today. That the media doesn't talk about. In that sense, the media has failed the Kashmiri people.
Okay, I've got time for one quick comment on the program. Ambassador, close the show for us with your concluding remarks.
For decades in Nagaland, there has been no terrorism. For decades now, of the kind that we are seeing in Kashmir from Pakistan. And that is the crucial difference. Bharat has mentioned this on a number of occasions today. Yes, as far as strategies are concerned, I do believe that use of force and dialogue has to go on together. But Kashmir in many ways is sui generis. And let us not forget that.
Yes. Okay. 30-second quick closing remark because I've got just 30 seconds left on the program, Mr. Choudhary.
Yes, you see, governance with Mr. Bharat Bhushan has come to a standstill. What are the reasons? Very sad that this. I was very happy when PDP, Jammu and Kashmiri Muslims were coming together. The J&K will make progress, development. It's not happening. Governance is totally not existing on the ground. It has to be restored. Order has to be restored by whatever means.
Yes.
Whatever means.
Okay. Order has to be restored at, and whatever means is the consensus here. I'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture because I'm completely out of time. Vivek, Katju, Anil Choudhary, Bharat Bhushan and Shujaat Bukhari, thank you so much for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. That's all the time we have. See you again next time.